earns you the right or earns you a better shot at being one of the mega winners. And then lastly, even though a lot of the media attention and the buzz is in the infrastructure and developer tooling layer, it turns out that that layer can be successful only if the application layer is even more successful. And we saw this with the rise of SaaS as well. A lot of the buzz and excitement is on the technology, the tooling layer, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But the only way for that to be successful is that the application layer is even more successful so that, frankly, they can generate enough revenue to pay the infrastructure and the tooling layer. So actually, let me mention one example. Armorai, I was actually just texting the CEO yesterday, but Armorai is a company that we built that uses AI for romantic relationship coaching, right? And just to point out, I'm an AI guy, and I feel like I know nothing really about romance. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my wife. She will confirm that I know nothing about romance. But when we want to build this, we wanted getting together with the former CEO of Tinder, Renata Nyborg, and with my team's expertise in AI and her expertise in relationships. Because she ran Tinder, she knows more about relationships than I think anyone I know. We're able to build something pretty unique using AI for kind of romantic relationship mentoring. And the interesting thing about applications like these is when we look around, how many teams in the world are simultaneously expert in AI and in relationships? And so at the application layer, I'm seeing a lot of exciting opportunities that seem to have a very large market, but where the competition set is very light relative to the magnitude of the opportunity. It's not that there are no competitors, but it's just much less intense compared to the developer tool or the infrastructure layer, say. And so because I've spent a lot of time iterating on a process of building startups, what I'm going to do is just very transparently tell you the recipe we've developed for building startups. And so after many years of iteration and improvement, this is how we now build startups. My team's always had access to a lot of different ideas, internally generated ideas from partners. And I want to walk through this with one example of something we did, which is a company, Bearing AI, which uses AI to make ships more fuel efficient. So this idea came to me when a few years ago, a large Japanese conglomerate called Mitsui, that is a major shareholder and sort of operates a major shipping lines. They came to me and they said, "Hey, Andrew, you should build a business to use AI to make ships more fuel efficient." And the specific idea was, think of it as a Google Maps for ships. We can suggest to a ship or tell a ship how to steer so that you still get to your destination on time, but using, it turns out, about 10% less fuel. And so what we now do is we spend about a month validating the idea. So double check, is this idea even technically feasible? And then talk to prospective customers to make sure that there's a market need. So we spend up to about a month doing that. And if it passes this stage, then we will go and recruit a CEO to work with us on the project. When I was starting out, I used to spend a long time working on the project myself before bringing on a CEO. But after iterating, we realized that bringing on a leader at the very beginning to work with us, it reduces a lot of the burden of having to transfer knowledge or having a CEO come in and having to revalidate whether we discover. So the process is, we've learned much more efficient. We just bring in the leader at the very start. And so in the case of Bearing AI, we found a fantastic CEO, Dylan Kyle, who's a repeat entrepreneur, one successful exit before. And then we spent 3 months, 6 two-week sprints to work with them to build a prototype as well as do deep customer validation. If it survives this stage, and we have about a 2/3, 66% survival rate, we then write the first check-in, which then gives the company resources to hire an executive team, build the key team, get the MVP working, minimum viable product working, and get some real customers. And then after that, hopefully then successfully raises additional external rounds of funding and can keep on growing and scaling. So I'm really proud of the work that my team was able to do to support Mitsui's idea and Dylan Kao as CEO. And today, there are hundreds of ships on the high seas right now that are steering themselves differently because of Bearing AI. And 10% fuel savings translates to rough order of magnitude, maybe $450,000 in savings in fuel per ship per year. And of course, it's also, frankly, quite a bit better for the environment. And I think this startup I think would not have existed if not for Dylan's fantastic work, and then also, Mitsui bringing this idea to me. And I like this example because this is another one. Is like, this is a startup idea that, just to point out, I would never have come up with myself, right? Because, I've been on a boat, but what do I know about maritime shipping? But it's the deep subject matter expertise of Mitsui that had this insight together with Dylan and then my team's expertise in AI that made this possible. And so as I operate in AI, one thing I've learned is my swim lane is AI, and that's it, because I don't have time. It's very difficult for me to be expert in maritime shipping and romantic relationships and healthcare and financial services and on and on and on. And so I've learned that if I can just get accurate technical validation, and then use AI resources to make sure the AI tech is built quickly and well. And I think we've always managed to help the companies build a strong technical team. Then partnering with subject matter experts often results in exciting new opportunities. And I want to share with you one other weird aspect of one other weird lesson I've learned about building startups, which is I like to engage only when there's a concrete idea, and this runs counter to a lot of the advice you hear from the design thinking methodology, which often says, don't rush to solutioning, right? Explore a lot of alternatives before you do a solution. Honestly, we tried that. It was very slow. But what we've learned is that at the ideation stage, if someone comes to me and says, hey, Andrew, you should apply AI to financial services, because I'm not a subject matter expert in financial services, it's very slow for me to go and learn enough about financial services to figure out what to do. I mean, eventually you could get to a good outcome, but it's a very labor-intensive, very slow, very expensive process for me to try to learn industry after industry. In contrast, one of my partners wrote this idea as a tongue-in-cheek, not really seriously, but let's say the concrete idea is, buy GPT, let's eliminate commercials by automatically buying every product advertised in exchange for not having to see any ads. It's not a good idea, but it is a concrete idea. And it turns out concrete ideas can be validated or falsified efficiently. They also give a team a clear direction to execute. And I've learned that in today's world, especially with the excitement and buzz and exposure to AI of a lot of people, it turns out that there are a lot of subject matter experts in today's world that have deeply thought about a problem for months, sometimes even 1 or 2 years, but they've not yet had a build partner. And when we get together with them and they share the idea with us, it allows us to work with them to very quickly go into validation and building. And I find that this works because there are a lot of people that have already done the design thinking thing of exploring a lot of ideas and winning down to really good ideas. And I find that there's so many good ideas sitting out there that no one is working on, that finding those good ideas that someone has already had and wants to share with us and wants to build partner for, that turns out to be a much more efficient engine. So before I wrap up, we'll go to questions in a second. Just a few slides to talk about risk and social impact. So AI is a very powerful technology. To state